Welcome back to another episode of PB Ballers. Wow, what a game. South Korea 2, Mexico 2 in Nashville, Tennessee. You know what, guys? We have a lot to talk about, but just for, I guess, our viewers' background information, we started out again in a back three formation. Lots of changes this time. Kim Tae-han came in as the left-sided center back alongside Kim Min-jae and Lee Han-bum. Out wide, we had Lee Myung-jae as the fullback with Kim Moon-han. And then in midfield, Jens Kastrop getting a surprising start alongside Park Yong-woo. I know Paul's going to go in soon. Left side, there was Jun-ho. In the middle, we had Heung-gyu and then Kang-in rounding out on the right side. Boys, just initial thoughts on that game. That was a crazy-ass game. I'm not going to lie.
It was a very physical game, especially in the first half. I think Mexico's physicality really bothered us. On a positive flip side for that, Jens Kastrop looked really good against that physicality. I think he's really a profile or a player type that we haven't had on national team maybe since like Kim Namil. Like the way he's able to kind of meet duels and fight off opponents, with his physicality and make the proper fouls when he needs to make them. So I was pretty impressed with his outing, obviously, but I think Mexico's physicality did bother us a bit. I feel like our speed on the flanks was not really there in the first half, and then bringing in Sonny to start things off in the second half really kind of sped things up and opened the game a little bit, and that kind of changed how the game went for us. But overall, yeah, really good game for us. Took a couple worldlies from Mexico to tie it up. I can't really blame Kim Seung-gyu there for the two goals. I think he had a pretty solid match overall. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the 2-2 draw. I thought it was pretty deserved for both countries.
Yeah, before Charles jumps in, I wanted to say that Santi Jimenez goal, the last one, was a banger. He almost scored
Yeah.
something similar before that. Kim Seung-gyu, I didn't know Kim Seung-gyu had that in him, but I mean, it was a crazy game where I think all four of the goals, honestly, were really good goals. Yeah.
All things considered, I think 2-2 draw very fair. Those things being considered is the rotation on both side squads. So obviously Hong rotated immensely and a 90-minute Yong-woo performance. If we get a dub out of that, we're praying to some gods that don't exist on this earth. So all that being said, 2-2 with all the rotations, with our wingback starters not there, with Kang-in coming from a knock and his first starting in a long time, even across PSG. I think 2-2 is very fair. 2-1, I thought we could have held the result at 2-1, so 살짝 아쉬워. But I liked what Jason said in our comments. Is like we got to in our group chat, we got to keep some pressure on Hong. If he got out of this with a 2-1 grand slide off the cuffs of a Sunny banger and a Hyung-gyu banger, like it's because we were criticizing the entire match. And I think there's pros and cons on both sides we can peel away that we can dive into. Yeah, but given all that, I think 2-2 was a very fair result for Korea.
I would say the pro is for sure that I think we found a new formation to work with. I think most people would say that this back three is what we need, especially because I think our fullbacks or wingbacks can't really defend the way we want. And that's been an issue for us for years, going back to Paulo Bento. That is a positive. I think that Hong was able to switch that formation. Obviously, boys, the one glaring negative that we've beaten to death on this channel, I see Paul shaking his head already, is Mr. Park Yong-woo starting in central midfield. And I think really Hong did Jens Kastrop a disservice. This is Jens' first camp with the national team. He's getting to know his teammates. He's obviously doesn't speak the language as well. And yet in his first start, he was playing next to a traffic cone in a double pivot against a very physical Mexican team. And I think that really was a bad look from Hong Yong-bo in terms of just throwing Jens to the wolves and not really doing a good job of setting him up to succeed. And the fact that Jens Kastrop came off in the 46th minute, he was basically pulled after halftime, I think was really not a wise move by Hong Yong-bo. If anyone should have been taken off, it was Park Yong-woo. And yeah, I was horrified that he stayed on for the full 90. He received a match rating of 1.9 on Google. Obviously, that match rating is determined by the fans, but it shows you how bad he was. And I mean, I'm just gonna let Paul go in here. Like I've already said my piece. Like I'm done with that guy. He should never be on the national team. But for some reason, Hong Myung-bo loves him. Maybe he's dating someone in his family. I don't know. It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah, like we were talking about, Kastrop looked really solid in that first half. Now, I do feel like he's a little bit raw from a technical standpoint. So pairing him with someone like, who someone came on like Kim Jin-gyu or Park Seung-ho, I think really could have benefited or complemented him well. But instead, he was kind of stuck with Park Yong-woo, who, again, I mean, we've beaten this to a dead horse here, but doesn't bring anything in particular as far as the skill set goes to the Korean national team. I mean, he was just kind of sliding in and out between the center backs and just passing it back, struggling to get back on defense a lot on counters. I think the only couple of things I saw was like, okay, maybe he headed down a couple balls pretty well because he's got some height. I think he made one really good pass in the first half to Pejino on the flank. I was really surprised by that, by the way. I don't know where that came from. I think it was with his left foot too. Maybe he forgot who he was. I don't know what happened, but we talked about that useless K-pop member type of status that he has as far as not being able to bring anything, and he did more of
just
that
being
for 90
tall.
minutes.
He's just tall, right? The tall idol. Yeah,
and then in the second half, there was a couple instances where there was a couple 1-2s going on in the final third with Kang-in and a couple other guys, and he like kind of got in the way, like he didn't know what to do or where to go, like his awareness was just zero. And there was another play where the ball came to him and he had to trap it. He had nobody within like a 15-foot radius, and he like mishandled the ball, like with no pressure on him, and the ball coming at him like 2 miles an hour. I'm like, it's just like those kind of plays just make you go, just why are you in this game? Like just simple things you can't even get right. You're getting in the way of the offense. You're not getting back on defense. Why are you in the game? So I know we said that a lot, but like I said, I think we really did, like you mentioned, Albert, a disservice to Kastrop for not pairing him with someone with a little bit more technical ability like a Kim Jin-gyu or Paek Sung-ho. I think that could have really helped us out in the second half. Along with Kastrop's energy and defensive prowess, I don't think we would have ended up, if we scored those 2 goals like we did, I don't think we were giving up another goal with Kastrop in the game. That's just how I feel about it.
My thing with Hyeon-gyu is, yeah, it's a disservice to Kastrop, but he makes it that much, even if it's marginal, the other players have to do that much more. So we saw so many scenes of Kastrop alone in the midfield, and I assume this was a Myungbo tactic, but we saw Hyeon-gyu pressing up and Sonny having to run back because he's the left wing back now. That seems out of position. And if we didn't know this before, like if Hong tried to make the argument, Yongwoo's great in a back four, so we have 3 defensive players, 2 center backs, and he basically is a center back. Today's match, he had basically 4 center backs at times. So I don't know what's going on there. I think, Albert, you mentioned this, it's just like a Ulsan addiction. In other contexts in Manchester United, we call them Deadwood, but there's still some Deadwood on this team. I think he's the number 1 candidate, and then Kim Tae-yeon also is an Ulsan guy. I think that spot will be the left center back position. That's probably Kim Ju-sung's moving forward. But yeah, the thing about Young, he just brings nothing at this point, and he's not young. He lacks movement in a back 3. You need to be mobile in the midfield there. So he should not be on the squad for 2026. We're speaking common sense here, which is something Hong is showing that he lacks. So we're not breaking ground here by saying any of this. So I think, yeah, we're on the same page about Yongo. I watched Tarsu Ista TV. 80% of the commentary from the public and themselves was just crapping on Yongo. Why is he still on this team? So I don't think we're alone as Chemigyopo's here in thinking this. I think all KNT fans see the common sense, except our manager.
But as a humble brag, I do want to say we're really ahead of this as far as the Park Young-woo hate. We've been doing this since it's been at least a couple of years now. So I'm kind of happy to see that the public is starting to see it. I guess, if the general casual fan can start to see this now, then it's that apparent. So we had a point there. So it's kind of a little humble tap on the back, but I'm glad that people are starting to agree and see it our way as well.
It's unforgivable for a back 3 to play him there.
Yeah.
Back 4, you can make a football argument, but back 3 is unforgivable.
No, he should never play anywhere. No. There's no formation where he fit. I mean, guys, you nailed it. There isn't much more to say about Park Young-woo. And Paul mentioned this. We've been beating this horse since around Klinsmann. That's when he started playing for the national team. I think around 2022, 2023. The fact that he keeps getting minutes is an indictment of not just, I think, Hong Myung-bo, but just of the KFA and maybe the football system, that we can't produce any good 6s. I'm telling you one thing. Last thing I'll say about this: Park Jin-sup or Kwon Hyuk-gyu have to be 2 of the worst players in the world if they can't get minutes over Park Young-woo. I still expect Hong to play him. And by the way, if he plays him against one of Paraguay or Brazil, we're giving up at least 2 goals in that game. Another topic for another day. But boys, I think when we also talk about Hong Myung-bo in general, I think, we've crapped on him a lot, and I think it was well deserved. Now, I think he definitely deserves credit for making adjustments on this trip in America. When you look at it in a nutshell, decent results, 1 win, 1 draw, 4 points if it was a World Cup. Now I'm thinking though that part of me wonders this Mexico game, was it mostly, Son Heung-min, Oh Hyung-gyu, and Lee Kang-in's brilliance kind of bailing him out? Because on each of those goals, the first one was a great cross by Kim Moon-han, Oh Hyung-gyu winning the ball, and then Son Heung-min just being Son Heung-min. Really incredible finish. That's actually harder than people think, that half volley. And then Oh Hyung-gyu on that last one, obviously a genius pass from Lee Kang-in, but the ability to hold up the ball and then hit it off the post like that is something that most professionals can't do. So again, I give Hong credit for changing to a back three and giving rotation to guys who might have needed it. But part of me also wonders is we pump the brakes here and say, hey, wait, maybe we have to see the results against Brazil and Paraguay before we start saying Hong Myung-bo is the right guy to lead us into the World Cup.
I thought for the Mexico match, it was tactical and manager's decision. I didn't see us pressing as aggressively as we did in Chonbanjeon of USA match. It seemed like, yes, Sonny bringing on helped everything, but it also seemed like he asked the players, all right, second half, Mexican legs might be a little more tired. It almost seemed like the first half, he was like, let's sit back, just hold. Unfortunately, we got conceded on out of just some mastery by Jimenez. But in the second half, I saw more of the USA tactics coming. Wingbacks pushing up, even our center backs pushing up, trying to aggressively cut off the midfield. So in terms of Hong, I was severely impressed because I thought the three-back setup fits well for the types of players we have. Like I have an absolute crush on this back three line. I think they should be locked. Maybe Cho Yumin has something to say, but Bom, Kim Min-jae, and Kim Ju-sung, like pretty elite athletic ability, defensive ability, passing ability, and a lot of diversity where they can switch in and out of position. So I think Hong showed us in the USA match what our strongest first team squad can look like. And then what I saw, so that being said, I think Sun top in a back three has to be him playing left wing back. I don't know if that's optimal for him. And then I think Pejino showed that Oh Hyung-gyu deserves a spot in front of him. So I think the first squad is truly basically the USA squad. If that doesn't work, you like I can imagine in World Cup matches like Chesung not being effective, then you toss in the Hyungyu, maybe put Sun to the side. But I did not expect this level of I'll call it creativity from Hong, based on what we've known for him, Bongchukwu, and being so stubborn.
Well, Sonny doesn't have to play left wing back though, because today's formation was Hyung-gyu in the middle with Jun-ho as like the left
He played
inside
a 10.
forward. So yeah, we could play Sonny on the left as an inside 10, inside forward, and then Hyung-gyu in the middle. But yeah, I'll let Paul go. But yeah, just saying, you don't have to play him at wing back in a back three. Yeah.
Yeah, I give him a lot of credit as far as Hong Min-bo goes, just for being able to have the courage to do what he did as far as going to a three back. Because I know we tried that under Bento once. I think it was against like Georgia in a friendly leading up to the World Cup, and it really didn't play out well. So I could see a lot of future managers from that standpoint be like, yeah, that's not going to work for Korea. But for him to actually try that, and I think the other thing I really want to give him credit for is not just subbing in new players or players that he hasn't used, but giving them a substantial amount of minutes and not just like bringing them on in the last 2 or 3 minutes right before the game ends just to get their feet wet. He's actually giving them a solid, 25, 30 minutes to be able to evaluate their talent and how they fit onto the squad. So just from that standpoint, the flexibility and the courage that he's showing, just beyond, tactics and formation and whatever you want to call it. But I do agree with Charles in the game. It seems like we kind of switched things up during the game. The first half, like we were saying, a little bit more safe, a little bit Bongchukwu-ish to begin. And then the second half, we kind of turned things up a little bit. And due to that, we got hit on the counter a couple of times as well. But we were kind of stepping on the gas a little bit there. So I was pleasantly surprised by that, just being able to adapt mid-game and showing different tactics. So I did enjoy that part of home. So I got to give him some credit there. I really do.
One thing on giving him credit though, I don't know, I'm having a tough time analyzing and gauging how much of this was situational and health and rest related, and how much of it was him proactively deciding
Sure.
these are the lineups that I want. So I mean that's just the nature of football when there's slow time rest in between. But yeah, I just want to make that take.
Now, one thing I'll say today, boys, if you look at, I guess, our biggest performers, I think obviously Oh Hyung-gyu, one of the man of the match. Lee Kang-in, I think, a little sloppy in the first half, did a lot better in the second half. I think he's still getting his feet under him. What did we think, boys, of the goalkeeper? Because I know that's a topic that we've also, had to talk about. Choi Hyun-woo obviously has been the number one since Kim Seung-gyu tore his ACL at the Asian Cup. I think Cho has obviously been a fantastic servant. In terms of pure shot stopping, he certainly is, I think, our best shot stopper in the country for now. But Kim Seung-gyu's distribution yesterday was excellent, but his shot stopping, especially on one of Santi Jimenez's rocket shots, was incredible. I think right now I would lean to giving Cho Hyun-woo a start against Brazil because he earned it. But then I would rotate and let Seung-gyu play against Paraguay, and then I would go from there to see who starts in net, because I think, boys, when it comes to a World Cup, you can't really just give a goalkeeper spot to any one guy, even if Choi Hyun-woo, I think, has been fantastic.
I think they bring different things to the table. I think what Kim Seung-gyu could offer to this club, to this team, is something that typically Asian teams don't have, which is like you're saying, that ball passing ability. He's super good at his feet. So I mean that could expand Hong's tactics immensely in the future. I feel like he's more of a conservative, safe guy anyway. So I mean that's a critical position and a leadership position for the defense. So to switch that out with Kim Seung-gyu, I think this is his first start since the Asia Cup when he got injured. That would be a ballsy move. But if I'm playing Dream Football Manager and everybody's healthy, everybody's playing at top of their quality, I would like to see an informed Kim Seung-gyu, especially if you can imagine top quality teams like even in Brazil, if they're pressing hard, you need somebody to accurately lob that ball out of our back line. And I even saw that today. Balls getting to Kang-in and Pejun on the left, even just straight from the goal line, which is impressive. And I know Hyun-woo's just a god blocker, which that's all you need to do the basics as a keeper. So it's a good problem to have. I wouldn't want to be Hong moving into it because if he makes the wrong decision and something happens, he's going to get criticized immediately.
I mean, so Choi Hyun-woo is not stopping the 2 goals that Mexico scored. I'm sorry, no goalkeeper stopping those two guys. So Kim
Facts.
Seung-gyu did more than enough from a shot blocking standpoint, I think, in that match because he had a few good saves against Mexico as well. But there was a couple of times, and I'm sure Charles could probably attest to this since he was at the game. But against the U.S., there were a couple of times where Choi Hyun-woo would pass from the back, and I was almost like cringing, just at the lack of confidence he had, and like just there's not enough oomph or directive like passing as far as how he's passing it to the players. It's like it's like a hope and a prayer. It's like a lob. Like please just get there instead of being a little bit more direct, a little bit more confident with how he's passing. And I just feel like, as Charles has mentioned, against the better teams, teams that press harder, teams that are going to put Torino in positions where he's not going to be comfortable, we could see that just not be pretty. And I don't want. I'm not sure so maybe that's a good challenge for him to play against Brazil, like you mentioned, Albert, for Jordan to play there to kind of test those abilities because I'm sure they will be tested, and to kind of give him a sink or swim type of situation with his passing from the back because we don't have to question that too much with Kim Seung-gyu. So where I see it, I think Kim Seung-gyu kind of is a step above, and as long as his health and conditioning can come back where he's able to move like he is used to, which we kind of saw against Mexico, I feel like he is the keeper going forward just from an overall perspective. So hopefully it plays out that way.
Yeah, I got to give him credit, man. 2 ACL tears, and now he's balling out in the J League. I know a lot of Japanese fans were really excited about his highlights against Mexico. And then, boys, we look up a little higher up on the front line. I think some disappointing players, obviously, Lee Myung-jae, that dude's useless. I never want to see him play for the national team again. Provides nothing in attack going forward. Kim Moon-hwan has been around for a while. I think that defensively, you always know what you're getting, and a bit of a spark plug going forward. You know, he had that nice cross on Sonny's goal, but again, maybe you'd want somebody a little more dynamic on that right-hand side. Now, I know we saw Chung Sang-bin come in later in the match, and there was moments when he was playing at right wing back, but then I also saw him drift to the left side later in the game as well. It seemed like Hong was telling him to switch. I know Sang-bin's kind of been in MLS purgatory recently, but maybe if we keep this back 3 system, he could be a guy who plays at right wing back, even though I don't think he has a lot of experience doing it. I think that was one interesting point. And then another thing I wanted to bring up was I think Jun-ho was a bit disappointing other than that one early chance he had. Clear to me that he's just not going to be nothing more than a sub on this team, which isn't a bad idea. Obviously, Heung-gyu, the big man up top, is going to be the real X factor for me. Is do we play Son Heung-min as the false 9 going forward? Or do we play a real striker? And I think obviously Sonny's going to play at the 9 for LAFC for the foreseeable future. But I'm of the belief that Son Heung-min is still better out wide right now because I think we do play better with an aerial threat in the box. And we saw that today with Oh Heung-gyu setting up that goal. But Just curious what you guys think about the attack and some of the decisions that we saw today.
You just read my mind because that's where I wanted to transition is the wingbacks. And I'm fortunate that both my teams, both Korea and United, are playing a back three. So it's easy analysis for me, but we say it all the time as United fans, and Amarim stresses it. The wingbacks are the most pivotal position. They're effectively your wingers in this formation. And our wingbacks suck, for lack of a better word. They're kind of our weak points and our biggest question marks. I think Seoryung on the right definitely he's got it locked, but I think there's so much conversation about the left wing spot. I love Itezok. I think he's shown enough to be the number one candidate, but I don't think it's a lock. And what I mean by that is if Hong is creative, I don't think he would ever do this, is we have so much more resources at right wing back. I feel like if we move hard to the left, which he's definitely capable to do, then we can play a Jung Sang-bin, we could play even a Castro. I guess some Munan, but not really. He's just lacks so much defensively, and I'm probably missing other right wing back candidates, but I think that provides us a little bit more flexibility. But I just don't see enough from our wing backs. At least in the USA match, we saw enough. Like Itezok definitely has the speed and mobility and movement to bring it up, and then it seems like Hoyoung will play back, and it kind of forms into a back four, which is a pretty solid. That's three center backs plus Hoyoung. But I also feel like Hoyoung not getting up the pitch kills Kang-in's optimal state as well. So these are things I think we have to figure out. I think we can talk about this a little later too, but Kang-in's position in a back three seems to be a little bit in flux. I know yesterday it might be more related to him not being in form, not getting so much playing time, having a knock, but he seemed like half a step late for everything. So I think these wing back positions and the midfield spot next to Imbam, we got to figure out who are the best pairings for this. And I think if we get incredible wingback play, I don't want to get ahead of the ball here, but it's gonna be a fun World Cup. I'll say it at that at least.
Yeah, for me, I'm in total agreement here with both of you guys. I think I do prefer what O brings to the table up top, as far as just small things, like you said, win the ball in the air. His ability to keep the ball with his back to the defender, just things like that. There's a lot of physicality that he brought that I don't think Sonny has at this point in his career, and Sonny just looks so much more dominant on the left, I think, and there was a clear difference between him and Pejino playing on the left today. And I think that really helps out, especially if you're going to put Seoryung on the left as more of a defensive wingback, and then have Sonny be the out wide option out left. I think that's a really good combination there. And to kind of piggyback on what Charles was saying, Kang-in really struggled today. He had a lot of he was falling a lot, hands were in the air, hands on the hip, a lot of complaining. It didn't seem like he was on top of his game, but it's kind of the same situation where he's at PSG, where if he's playing on the right-hand side, he does need a little bit of support from whoever the right wingback, right fullback position is. And he's so used to playing with Hakimi that when you have someone like that bombing down the right side, it makes things open up a lot more easier for you as a right midfielder, as a right number 10. And he's not getting that support. Muna is not bad, but he's not really getting over there. I don't think he's really a counter-attacking or fast-paced right wingback. Like when we're kind of controlling the game and, kind of have possession, then he's okay to have out wide for a cross or something like that. But Chung Sang-bin looks a lot more dangerous out there. I know he didn't get a lot of minutes, and that's not his natural position, but I'd like to experiment with that a little bit more, not just for Chung Sang-bin's sake, for his sake, but also for just Lee Gang-in's overall effectiveness in the game. I think it would really help. I do wish Pejino played a little better because I was excited to see that front three. But as Albert has mentioned, I think it's pretty clear and obvious that Sonny is our best option at the left spot. And furthermore, that I think that kind of cements Hyeon-gyu up top because we kind of need Sonny out left.
What about Chesung?
I mean, it depends, I guess. I guess it depends on the game, I think. Lee Jae-sung obviously brings a lot to the table that, we've talked about a lot on this channel as far as his ability without the ball. I think he's probably the best that the team has to offer. As far as being able to track back or crash to the box, I don't think anyone's better at it than Lee Jae-sung. He was my man of the match against the U.S., so I can't slight him in the slightest, but I guess because he was injured, he was kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Ideally, yeah, we'd play Heung-gyu in the middle with Sonny on the left side, but knowing Hong Myung-bo, I think Lee Jae-sung is undroppable, so what we'll most likely see is Chesung-i on the left, Sonny in the middle, and then Kang-in on the right wing, with Seoryung-woo as the right wing back. Now, Seoryung-woo at right wing back against the States when we played a little better, I think didn't really provide much going forward, but then Dong-kyung was playing so well and wreaking havoc on that right side, it didn't really matter. That's why I said that we need to see what happens in October against Brazil and Paraguay, because I think we need to see if Young-woo can complement Kang-in against better teams with better quality. We need to see if Taeseo can also defend against much better players than we played in the States. Now, I know Brazil are not what they once were. Charles, obviously, you have a connection with that team personally, but I think Brazil still has enough quality to hurt us. Paraguay, under their new manager, has really revitalized themselves and qualified for the World Cup again. It's going to be a test. And again, I don't want to say I'm worried because there is some credit in the bank, but I do wonder if the games in Seoul don't go well next month, if we start seeing more questions about the personnel and what we have to do. And by that point, you're already reaching the end of the year and you're close to 2026. And again, it's the one thing this team needs, I think, is consistency, a consistent starting 11, an identity, because we didn't have that for so long. And I honestly think we know every game is important, but I think these matches against Brazil and Paraguay are even more important than the games we had in the U.S.
My question to you guys is, if we stick with what we're sticking with here, is it really going to be ideally Inbom and Kastrop in the midfield, or how do you guys see that playing out? Because I feel like that pairing, I know we didn't get a chance to see that with Inbom being injured here, but it seems like the correct type of pairing as far as players complementing each other. Just because, again, I was that impressed with Kastrop's ability to kind of be that physical stopper type of defensive midfielder. And I think pairing that with someone like Inbom could be really, really good.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, in a back three, I don't think we need to have a formal six in the middle there. And if Imbum's gonna be our point guard, our passer, our distributor, then having a bodyguard role like Kastrop, where I feel like his passing leaves a little to be desired, at least his not passing, like the killer passing style that Imbum and we see so much of from Imbom and Kangin. So yeah, I feel like he's the perfect style of player to play, especially in a back three,
Mm-hmm.
alongside Imbom. I will say I do love Misum Paek. He's kind of invisible, but I feel like he just does his floor is so high, and I feel like Imbom and Sungo obviously have experience playing together. But I don't know how old Kastrop is. Like, so impressive, guys. Like,
Yeah.
first start, his first like 40, I forgot how long he played in the
He's
USA match.
22, born in 2003.
22.
Yeah.
First Honyar Sonju, first mixed player coming into this culture. Obviously, like his mom's Korean, but like doesn't speak the language fluently, and just we've all felt what it's like to walk into a room where you're not the dominant culture. And for him to be able to just on a human level, be able to adapt and have that self-confidence, and yeah, he had some slip-ups, but it's a growing pain.
The fact that Inbom was out allowed Hong to kind of experiment. And to be honest, I'm not the biggest Paek Sung-ho fan, but I like the pairing with him and Jin-gyu. As Charles said, in a back three, you don't need a typical destroyer there. You can play with 2 8s. When Inbom comes back, obviously he's undisputed on the right-hand side of the midfield. I wouldn't mind Kastrop playing alongside him. One thing I would be concerned about is the lack of height in that midfield. I know Jens isn't the tallest player, so maybe a lack of an aerial support, but it depends on the opponent. I really think, and if I was playing a smaller team in the World Cup in my first few matches, I would start Kastrop and Inbom there for a little more mobility. If you're playing a bigger European team, maybe like a Sweden per se, then maybe I would think about playing somebody like Paek Sung-ho
Okay.
alongside Inbom. Kim Jin-gyu is kind of short. He's also
He is.
technically, I think, a little more impressive than Sung-ho.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Sung-ho, despite him being invisible and me having beef with that because he's a La Masia product, I think he has a role to play as the beefier 8/6, because we all know Park Young-woo can't do that.
Yeah, I think Kim Jin-gyu is a good person to have as a backup for like a Hwang In-bom. And then the other side, I think it's kind of opened up for whoever kind of pairs best. I'm kind of more on Albert's side with Paek Sung-ho as well. I'm not saying I don't believe in his skill set, but he doesn't do enough for me as far as like making a difference that I can clearly see on the pitch. Like he's clean with the ball, he'll distribute well, he has his occasional shot from outside the box and things like that he'll bring. But just from what I saw from a physicality standpoint from Kastrop, I was just that impressed with, and I was like, man, we really needed something like this just for how we defend counters and how we get back and making the proper fouls. And he just didn't seem scared of the moment either. I liked how he just stepped up. He was like talking with his teammates. I'm sure the language barrier was there, but he was still trying. He was talking after the game too. He was trying to like kind of figure things out. So I like the initiative that he's taking. And I think it's only going to propel him more with the more matches he gets under his belt.